Warning. You've reached On the Box with Ray Comfort and are now in a biblical truth zone. Place all questions about theology, current events, and evangelism on the box, where they'll be weighed against the truth of God's Word. Ready your hearts and minds. You're about to be inspired and equipped to fulfill the Great Commission. Programming to engage in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to another spontaneous edition of On the Box with Ray Comfort. Today we're going to be talking about how to answer a friend who tells you they don't like the way you witness. Taking it easy in the easy chair, I am your easygoing servant. Sitting at the dean's desk is the muy increíble Miguel Esparza. And this is the one, the only, the smashing Ray Comfort. That's British, isn't it? Smashing?
Yeah, it is smashing, yeah. It just is like jolly good.
Yeah.
That's what it means.
We are so excited to have you today. And oh boy, am I excited because we have, like I said, the muy increíble Miguel Esparza. Hey, Miguel. How was my Spanish, Miguel?
Muy bien, perfecto.
Muy bien. No sé qué harán, no sé por qué, partando el lío que sos mane, amigo.
Excelente.
Órale. See, I'm coming along.
You made it up. That
My
was
fake
nothing
Spanish is
Hang on.
enhancing.
Miguel, what did he say? That was fake Spanish. What did he say?
He's my boss, so he takes rates. He said, welcome to the program.
Good answer, Miguel. I said nada.
Cero.
I said something when saying I said nothing.
boy.
Well, we are so happy to have you with us today. Ray and I had a wonderful time last night
You
on
seem
the
pretty
Google.
bubbly today.
I know,
What's your
I'm so
problem?
happy. I don't know. I'm happy. We have. You know why I'm happy?
Why?
We have our good friends, the Martins, staying with us. Shane Martin is here with us today. Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who is Shane? For those who don't know?
Yeah, Shane is our super duper social media guy who has been such an amazing blessing to the ministry. He's been helping us out for a long time, volunteering a lot of the stuff that he's done.
180 would have had about 6 views if it wasn't for him.
Not that many.
Not that many?
Not that many without
geez.
Shane's help. Would add.
But yeah, the social media.
Yeah.
Just,
Absolutely. So Shane's been a huge blessing, and he and his wife Danae and their wonderful children stayed with us, and so
what's
we
the name
we
of
got
the
to
children?
fellowship.
Stayed with us?
Yeah,
Oh.
you don't know stayed and with and us. But we had a wonderful time. They stayed the night last night, and Shane and I got to fellowship on the way in this morning. So
And we're having
I'm
lunch
bubbling
together
happy.
today at the Italian restaurant
That's
just down
right.
the road.
That's right.
Yeah,
So,
no cereal.
well, Ray, you and I had a great time last night on the Google Hangout, didn't we?
The Google Plus, yeah, it worked
Google
out
Plus
good.
Hangout.
Yeah, and eventually,
few
we
technical
apologize
problems
like
at
we're
first.
10, 15 minutes late, but better late than never, and we made it.
Yeah,
But it was good. It was our
ended
first.
up coming together. So, well, be sure to please email us to onthebox@livingwaters.com with any of your questions, thoughts, suggestions, and also check us out on our blog, onthebox.us. Ray, you still going for it on the blog? You still
blog?
doing the blog?
Yeah, kind of.
Kind of.
Well, I've been so caught up that stuff I've written in the past that's fresh and hasn't been seen before is being put in there by
Right.
Miguel.
Genius has been sapping all of your...
Yeah, the genius.
Energy
my
and
genius.
genius
My
brilliance.
genius has been sapping me.
So anyhow...
Anyway,
make sure
the
to-
end is nigh with genius.
Right.
We're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. It isn't a train heading for us. We're just about there.
Right. Very exciting. We were reviewing it yesterday, and it really is coming together. So again, be sure to check us out on the blog on thebox.us, and check us out on Facebook and on Twitter. And like I said, we have our good friend and the director of our Spanish language outreach, Miguel, here with us today. And Miguel recently headed up one of our ambassadors academies, our first international ambassadors academy over in Guadalajara. And I was just thrilled.
Where is
About
Guadalajara?
that.
Any idea?
Guadalajara is in Mexico.
It's in Mexico.
That I know.
It's not
And,
South America.
No,
Okay.
it's in Mexico. And Miguel headed up our team down there. And I was really looking forward to the outcome, and Miguel came back with a great report. So, Miguel, if you want to fill us in a little bit about that, tell us how many people attended, what countries were represented, were there any pastors there, or what was the whole dynamic?
Yeah, we had a great group. We had almost about 50 people, and we had pastors, we had youth leaders, evangelists from different countries. We did have people from 7 to 8 countries in all of Latin America, from Colombia and Argentina and Ecuador and Peru, and we also had people that came from Canada, all the way from Ontario.
Oh, wow.
Canada.
Oh, I know where that is.
Yeah, Shane's from Canada.
Hey.
Yeah.
And by the way, Guadalajara is a city. It's in central Mexico, and there are over 5 million people that live there.
Wow.
So it's a huge metropolitan. It's a huge metropolitan city. So we had a great turnout, and it was just a huge blessing to have these people come together and learn about biblical evangelism.
That's great, Miguel. Now, obviously, as you and I talked, you shared with me that there were a number of people that weren't extremely familiar with the ministry. They were told about the academy by someone or found out about it online. So what was the general reception to the way the master and the training that you shared with everyone?
You know, I received a couple of testimonies. A pastor talked to me on the side, and he said, I have to confess, this was like a bucket of cold water that woke
Wow.
me up from a deep sleep. Another pastor said, I was in shock the first day that I was there. I wanted to complain, actually, but after praying and reviewing the materials, which is biblical, I could not say anything, basically. So
Wow.
you're right. Some people did not, they were not aware of the Way of the Master or Living Waters or Aguas Vivientes. Some people just found us through the internet or through other means, but they attended the academy, and we presented biblical evangelism. We taught them about biblical evangelism, and it was a huge blessing. It was a great reception. At the end, everybody was very happy with what they've learned and very eager to go out and start practicing.
That's so
Well,
exciting.
that's good to know, because if I was waking up from a deep sleep by a big bucket of cold water, I wouldn't be too happy. But I know what he was saying.
Yeah, you know, and Ray, you and I, obviously, we went to Mexico with Miguel some time ago.
Obviously, we did.
To the YWAM, to the YWAM
We
base
ate real
there.
Mexican food.
Oh, man.
And I was pleased to get home.
But Ray, I mean, you sensed the excitement, didn't you, from the people
Yes,
there?
it was wonderful.
And to know that the ministry is now beginning to have an impact in, you know, Mexico and other Spanish-speaking countries is such a thrill. And Miguel, you guys actually went out on the streets. It wasn't just a classroom instruction, but tell us a little bit about that, going out on the streets.
Just before he does, could I ask a question that could be relevant?
Sure.
Miguel, just being familiar with American culture and the problem we have with evolution, is that similar in Mexico, or is it different?
It is. No, there are people, especially the same format as here, especially younger generation, people that go to university. There is that training. We see a lot of agnostic, atheists, whatnot. We see a lot of them emailing us or getting in touch with us through Facebook. We didn't see that in general where we went out witnessing, but that culture of evolution is definitely out there, and it's a growing trend in Latin America, Ray.
Right. So where did you guys go, Miguel?
We walked to a plaza, Plaza Tapatia, which is like an open mall, and there were thousands and thousands of people there. And it was very interesting because there was not one person that I witnessed to or group of people that I was witnessing to that did not hear our presentation of the gospel from the start to the end. I mean, they were all listening, and even when we had the time of open air preaching, people were just soaking it in, and that's the same report that I received from the other teams. We divided
Wow.
ourselves into 5 different teams, about 8 or 10 or 9 people, and I think, Ray and Isi, that just for people listening a gospel that made sense to them was something that caught their attention. And some people, I had to walk away because they just wanted to keep talking about
Right.
it, basically.
Wow.
So there's been a lot of religion in Latin America and Mexico, but not really a clear presentation of the gospel. And a lot of people, I ask them, so do you know what God did for you so that you don't have to perish in this punishment? And most of the people say, well, they sent Jesus or his son. He sent his son to the cross. But I said, do you understand? And 90% of the people did not understand. So it was when I explained it to them that makes sense to them, that they were truly blessed, and they were amazed of hearing.
Wow, that's
know,
great.
about
I
the
think
good
we
news
have
of the
some
gospel.
photos, don't we, guys?
Yes,
we could
we
I
scroll
got some more
through.
questions too after the photos.
Oh,
Sure.
okay. So if we want to scroll some
You
of
wanna
those,
scroll
and
some of those pictures?
Miguel can
Do we
kind
have-
of fill us in
okay.
on what's happening. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, that's. I think that was from the first day, our opening session. That's part of the class right there. You can go to the next one. That's a more broader view there of the opening class, and just the first message that I gave during that evening.
Wow.
That's one of the pastors. This pastor, that's one of the graduating. This is from graduation day.
Is the guy on the right in the military?
He is not in the military. That's actually our brother Joseph Urban, who has a ministry there in Guadalajara, and that's Pastor Eduardo Martinez, pastor from Hidalgo, Mexico, and just such a blessing. He was one of the pastors that at the beginning were a little bit, not. They were not on board with the message, and at the end, you can see his smile there. He was very happy.
Wow, that's great.
And here we see some of the students, participants of the academy. They went out, and we sent them in teams of two at a time, and that's just they were witnessing to this gentleman right there. That's right there. I'm talking to these two teenagers, and what a blessing it was to talk. I remember that conversation specifically. And Ray, when I was giving the example to that young man with the baseball cap of imagine that you're in front of the judge and the law is going to take effect, he said, "Oh, by the way, I was in jail and I was in front of the judge. I came from the United States."
Wow.
So that example really sunk in, and that just led to a whole presentation of the gospel right there. And then he actually thanked me and he hugged me after we had that conversation. So
that's great, Miguel. Wonderful.
Another young man that we're giving out the tracts, and we have some more, I think, or one more. That's
Ooh, there it is. Open
yeah,
air.
I had the opportunity to open air preach, and you can see we had a fairly large crowd. And I was actually trying to draw a heckler into the conversation, but everybody were they were just very attentive, and it was just a great time that I was able to completely share the gospel and preach the gospel.
Did you baptize anybody in that green water behind
That's
you?
I thought about. I was
man.
kind of trying not to stumble and fall in
Well, I'm
myself.
glad you didn't have any violent hecklers there that would have given you a little shove.
Yeah, we didn't, but it was a blessing. It was a blessing.
That's great, Miguel. Well, thank you so much for that.
I got a
update.
question from Miguel.
Sure, go ahead.
Miguel, we just finished season 4 where we went to Europe, and the culture there is very atheistic, godless. It's different in Mexico. The
Right.
people are very religious. So how would you begin an open air? Were you afraid of there being immediate offense, or are people very open when someone stands up in the open air and just begins
No,
preaching?
they were very open, actually. They're very rooted, as you know, in Mexico. Probably 90% of population are Catholics. But to open, being redundant, the open air session, it was very easy. It just started with some questions on the natural, some generic trivia, and then we moved on. So what do you think happens, when you die? And then we just transitioned that conversation, and we drew a good crowd, and it was not hard, actually. And people, the crowd started to actually grow in numbers as we went on, and we did a couple of sessions, and it was just a blessing. As I said, I did not get a heckler, even though I tried to. So people were really attentive, and they were really appreciative. A few people afterwards came up and talked to us, and we had the teams from the academy there, so they went to talk to some of the people that were in the crowd. So we had some good one-on-ones afterwards.
So how many times have you open air preached, Miguel?
This is now, I had done it in Spanish. I'm sorry, the first time I did it in English here in the United States. Now this is my second time doing it, and now I broke the sound barrier in Spanish.
So you over your fears, or is it just fear just
I
starting?
feel comfortable. I feel comfortable, and I just pray really hard before I go out there, and I just trust God, and I just speak what the gospel. I just preach the gospel. That's it.
That's
Wow.
wonderful.
That's great, Miguel. Well, thank you for that report. As you can all see, the Lord is doing some tremendous things through the Spanish language outreach with Miguel at the helm. And we'll tell you more about that as time goes on. But one very exciting thing that Miguel just had the opportunity to take part in is a video produced by our friends at Wretched Radio and Television, Todd Friel and others. And it's kind of the Spanish version of The Biggest Question, right, Miguel?
It is actually the Spanish version of The Biggest Question.
There it
Es la
is.
pregunta más grande. And what it is, for those of you that are not familiar with it, it is basically a gospel track and video, and it explains what is the biggest question, addressing issues of or questions of where do we come from, why am I here, and what's going to happen after I pass away. So this is the Spanish version of it, and we will soon have more information of where you can purchase it, so you can go out and distribute it as well.
Very cool.
And when you
Thank
get your copy, you'll get the glowing red version. It was actually our time clock reflecting. it.
Right. So we'll let you know more about that and all the details when it is available here through Living Waters. But very exciting. And again, so blessed to have Miguel and to see what the Lord has done in the short amount of time that he's been with us. It's truly been extraordinary and divine.
Yeah, and really quick, I just want to encourage you and here everybody at Living Waters and all the folks that are out there. It is a true blessing to see what God is doing through Living Waters and through the Spanish ministry to really to go out and get our feet wet out in Latin America. This is our first trip, and we're praying for many more down south in Latin America as well. So keep us in your prayers.
Amen. Thank
And if you
Miguel.
don't speak Spanish, but you meet Spanish people you want to witness to, go to thegm28.com and learn how you can download an app that can help you
Yes.
speak to people in 10 or so different languages.
Right, wonderful tool. It doesn't just work with Spanish-speaking folks, but with people that speak various other languages. All right, moving on along. Tonight, we have the Munich episode debuting on TBN, so please be sure to check that out.
It's not on.
What? Who?
They're doing Praise-a-thon for 2 weeks.
Tonight?
Yes.
I think so.
Oh, okay. News to
This
the news
just
guy.
in.
News update.
The
All
news
right.
update.
But anyhow, you know what? Why don't we go ahead and roll the promo anyway and show you guys what it looks like. You can always pick up the DVD here from Living Waters and be on the lookout for it on TBN.
Living Waters presents The Way of the Master Munich. Ray Comfort is in Germany, crashing the party at Oktoberfest.
What do you think happens after someone dies?
I don't know.
Do you ever think about it?
Not really.
So you come to this festival quite a lot, you drink yourself to death?
Almost, yeah.
Well, if you do, you've got to find out what's on the other side if you're going to drink yourself to death.
Christianity is the largest religion in Germany, with nearly 2/3 of the population professing to be Christians. Yet there's millions of atheists and agnostics, especially in the former East Germany.
Are there any churches here that they have available in Oktoberfest?
I think there's one, but I'm not quite sure.
Let me tell you what the Bible says. The Bible says that no drunkard gets to go to heaven, nobody who gets drunk.
I think it's safe to say that the world's biggest booze up is going to be an interesting place to talk to people about Christianity.
Available on DVD or as a video download at livingwaters.com.
So you'll not see that tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on TBN.
That was one of the highlights for me on our Europe journey. was
What,
being
going
at
to
the-
Munich for the big
Being
boozer?
at the Oktoberfest.
Oh,
yeah.
yes, it was kind of interesting.
It was. I mean, just being able to tell people there that the stuff they're drinking wouldn't satisfy forever, but Christ can give the life of, the water.
Yeah, and my
life.
highlight was Munich, but an hour before the festival.
Oh, the surf.
The surfing in
Journey of
Munich,
love.
Germany. It was just quite incredible to go there and see there's a fast-moving river right in the city, and there was a big log or something that made a wave, and all these surfers were surfing on it.
Yeah.
Wow, but it's the last thing I expected. Well, I didn't expect to see camels there either, but it was the second to last thing I expected to see in Munich. It was quite
That's
incredible.
great. Okay, moving on to the topic of the day. This is an email that we got from Sam in England. And Sam says, I was wondering if you could help me in regards a friend of mine. My friend is a born-again Christian and loves God, attends church every week, and reads and prays every day. However, I invited her to preach with me, and she agreed, and then she asked about how I evangelize. I said that I take them through the good person test, and then I go into the speech about Christ throughout both testaments. But she says I'm living in an old covenant. She refuses to give out my tracts because they have the good person test on it. She says that Christ showed us the law to show that we couldn't keep it. Apparently, we don't have to live up to God's standards. The new law is the love and grace of Christ. She quotes Hebrews 8:13, Jeremiah 29:11. She also said this, He gave us a law to show us we could not keep it. Law requires perfection. If you lack one thing in the law, you lack all the law. The law has been satisfied. Get over it. Through law, we become conscious of sin. Why not preach love? It's better than sacrificing, or it's better than scaring people into becoming a Christian. And I found this interesting, Ray, because she weaves in some true stuff that we say about the law, but doesn't seem to get the connection.
Yeah, she doesn't get the connection. The law was given for the unsaved to see their sin. She's getting mixed up and thinking the law was... Well, it shows us what sin is, and we keep that in mind, but we're not justified by keeping the law. We're justified freely by God's grace. We look at the mirror of the law to see if we've sinned, and we go to the water of the blood of Christ to wash, and then we turn the mirror on the ungodly so they can see they have sinned. But you don't wash yourself with the mirror. But the sad thing is, she's, number one, missing out on using the greatest auxiliary, as Spurgeon put it, that the church has been given, the law to bring the knowledge of sin. And two, she may become guilty of antinomianism. That is total disregard for the law, and she thinks that as a Christian she can lie and steal and lust, etc., and get away with it.
Right.
So we don't keep the law for justification, but we're not lawless because we're grateful to God for forgiving our sins through the cross.
Right. Miguel, I'm sure that maybe some objections like that came up even at the academy. How do you typically respond to someone who says that?
Yeah,
or has a
well,
misunderstanding?
what I typically do to immediately put that question away, I always in a teaching or in a teaching mode setup, I always tell them, please know that we're talking about the proper use of the law, which is to show one man's sin in front of God. It's like what Ray was saying. It's a spiritual mirror to show you how are you standing in front of God. So what I do, I tell them is it's the law only shows you your state in front of God, but it does not save you. The Apostle Paul said, you are not saved by the works of the law. You're only saved by grace and by faith in Jesus Christ. So I clarify that it's the proper use of the law so that they're not confused that we're legalists. So that's basically what I do.
Yeah, Sam, I wonder if maybe your friend has a misunderstanding that we're saying that we are under the law as Christians. Because, again, the things that she's saying in there have legitimacy to them. Yeah, the law shows us our sin. It shows us we can't be perfect. It shows us, and that's the whole point, right? I mean, remember some of the verses that we often quote, 1 John 3:4. Sin is transgression of the law, right? Romans 3:20, what did Paul say? By the law is the knowledge of sin. Galatians 3:24, that the law is our schoolmaster to bring us to Christ. So I think maybe you just need to clarify a few points for her and help her to understand the basics, and maybe the light will go on for her.
And maybe she could read God Has a Wonderful Plan for Your Life, the book that's written for people that are in her position.
Right. Yeah, we've had people that have had qualms about the use of the law or a misunderstanding about what we teach as a ministry, and they've gotten a hold of that book. And I think the power of that book, it's its concision. It's short, but it's to the point, and it really kind of just drives it home. And we've had people say, wow, I couldn't put it down because I saw the clarity and the truth in there.
Short is good.
So, yeah. So, Sam, we hope that that's been helpful. And for any of you that have been dealing with the same sort of thing, maybe that's a direction you can take with your friends to help give them some clarification. All right. Another question we have here. Hey, guys, love your show. My question is, if cowards go to hell, I'm asking this because I read in Revelation 21:8 that the cowardly will have their part in the lake of fire. And I was wondering if that implies also to born-again Christians who know that they're supposed to be sharing their faith, but fear keeps them from doing that, and so they don't. Maybe this only applies to lost people, but I'm not completely sure. I know that we are saved by grace and not by works, but this is a question that is kind of bugging me. Please help. Thanks. So, Ray, I think that the main thing he's trying to get at is, hey, does this mean a Christian who is genuinely born again, who struggles to share their faith or is scared or feels fear, are they going to go to hell?
I don't think so, because I'd be in that number if that were the case, because I've been a coward so often. I've ride my bike across the other side of the road when I see a sinner walking this side. I've sat in a plane and prayed, please don't let anyone show up and sit next to me. I remember once, I've called it Black Sunday, I was in New Zealand about 100 miles south staying with this pastor, and we went along to this wharf, and there was an overseas submarine on display there. I think it was a Russian submarine, and there were thousands or hundreds of people just packed along this wharf. And as I walked with him, I thought I should get up and preach to these people, but I didn't. Right. And I remember going to sleep that night and thinking, what a coward I am that I didn't. And I think the key in that situation is, in your mind, think if that ever happens again, I am going to be mentally prepared to do so and push aside my fears.
Right.
But no, I think this obviously applies to something far more serious. There is a cowardice which is horrible that all of us could see as sin, like someone failing to help a little child that's drowning because you're afraid of getting yourself wet or something. Right. I don't know, but
yeah. I mean, I think contextually, it's dealing with a cowardice, and it's translated in other translations as fearful, and many believe that it's dealing with the issue of faith. The word fearful, like I said, as it's translated in other places as opposed to cowardly, is used just 3 times in the New Testament. And on another 2 occasions, it's a fear associated, again, with lack of faith. Matthew 8:26, and he saith unto them, why are ye fearful, O ye of little faith? Then he arose and rebuked the winds and sea and so forth. And then Mark 4:40, and he said unto them, why are ye so fearful? How is it that ye have no faith? So it's believed that the cowardice is in connection with a fearfulness that is in connection with a lack of faith, which leads to salvation.
Which is a tremendous insult to God.
Right.
When on the road to Emmaus, Jesus pulled alongside the two disciples and said, fools and slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have spoken. And we are fools when we don't trust God. If I don't trust my wife, it's an immediate insult to her integrity. So when someone says, I got no faith in God, that's not unfortunate.
Right.
That's sin.
Yeah. Yeah, and Miguel, would you have a quick word of encouragement for our brother who may be personally struggling with that fear to just share the gospel? Which, again, his question obviously is no, that's not related to the Christian. The Christian isn't going to go to hell because they're afraid to share the gospel. But what quick word of encouragement would you have for him?
I would say that as Christians, and Ray was quick to point that he's experienced that type of fear. I think that what you need to do is just really what I said earlier in my case, just trust God, pray about it, because this is the most important, witnessing is the most important ministry and command that Jesus gave us. So, just trust God and be in prayer, and he will lead you. And he, like Ray say, do it the first time, and then, just jump into the water and do it, and God will give you the strength and the wisdom to share.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I remember years ago walking outside my front door, and I saw these people out throwing the football around, and I had this yearning in my heart to want to share the gospel. I thought, Lord, my heart's longing is to want to share the gospel anytime, anywhere, with anyone, without hesitation. And yet there was a sense of discouragement because I felt I wasn't there. Mm-hmm. And then I just sensed it, in my heart that if the Lord gave me that desire, he's going to fulfill it. And as I draw near to him and I cry out to him and I continue to just step out despite what I feel, I was going to grow into that and the Lord was going to do it. So for those of you out there that
So what happened with the football people?
Oh, so I didn't share the gospel. I'm saying I get in my car and I was discouraged over it.
Okay.
But since then, obviously, this was years ago, many, many years ago, and I've grown. And again, the Lord has continued to fulfill that in me. So thank you so much. Be encouraged. And join us tomorrow. We'll be talking about Patricia Heaton and where she stands in her views of God. God bless you.
For questions about On the Box with Ray Comfort or to submit questions for future shows, please email onthebox@livingwaters.com. That's onthebox@livingwaters.com. On the Box with Ray Comfort is an outreach of Living Waters. For more resources to inspire and equip you to fulfill the Great Commission, check out livingwaters.com or call toll-free 1-800-437-1893. Now go and preach the gospel.